Good afternoon from beautiful northern Alabama. As I continue to explore how soldiers coped with adversity during the Civil War, I'd like to discuss two articles that relate to this topic. The first article is Music and Gallantry in Combat During the American Civil War by James A. Davis. This 2010 article is from American Music. When researching journals in JSTOR, Davis's writing immediately caught my attention because of my background. I first enlisted in the Army back in the 1980s as a musician and served in an Army band for 6 years. So when I saw Music and Gallantry in Combat, I knew it was a must read for me. In his research, Davis relies heavily on soldiers, letters and diaries, family papers, Civil War manuscripts, early scrapbooks, regimental histories, and official military records. Davis argues in his article how both gallantry and music pervaded the Civil War, both in the North and the South. Furthermore, he emphasizes how these two aspects of the war joined together on the battlefield. Davis dedicates considerable time exploring the meaning of the word gallantry. He points out how gallantry was a standard of behavior that exceeded mere courage. Gallantry was not only a way of being, but also a way of appearing, one that shaped 19th century American perceptions of warfare and civilized behavior in general. According to Davis, many Civil War soldiers believe that gallantry determines success in a fight, not drills, weapons, tactics, and commanding officers. Therefore, gallantry was one reason Civil War armies valued music so highly. Troops needed motivation and confidence. Highlighting the importance of music, Davis expounds on the role and functions of military bands and drum corps. They serve to bolster spirits, calm fears, demoralize the enemy, broadcast commands, keep a marching beat, and accompany military ceremonies. Bands would inspire soldiers as they marched toward the battle, and at times lead units right up to the edge of the fighting. Interestingly, musicians from the North and South would at times join in playing together, transcending violence and unifying soldiers. Of note, Davis points out how most commanders ordered musicians to the rear once the battle was imminent. Musicians would then assist soldiers at field hospitals in caring for the wounded. There's no doubt that surgeons needed their assistance due to the violent nature of the war. This leads to the next article I read by Eric Dean, titled The Awful Shock and Rage of Battle, Rethinking the Meaning and Consequences of Combat in the American Civil War. This is a 2001 article from War and History. Dean argues that Karl von Clausewitz, who was a 19th century Prussian philosopher of war, saw war as logical and the mere continuation of politics by other means. According to Dean, this view tends to rationalize war, thereby overlooking and minimizing the stark brutality of battle and the effect this has on soldiers and their families. Dean points out how some historians, especially social historians, have suggested that Civil War veterans came home after the war, returned to civilian pursuits, and didn't really think much about or dwell on their wartime experience for another 20 years. Dean contends that this was not the case. Instead, using medical records, federal pension files, military records, family papers and letters, memoirs, and psychotherapy proceedings, Dean insists that soldiers from both the North and the South were in profound mental and emotional turmoil. Furthermore, Dean emphasizes the effects of the war on wives and mothers who had to care for and cope with their returning soldiers. In the end, Dean emphasizes how we should never lose sight of the fact that war is about violence and battle, and the effect these phenomena have on the men called upon to take up arms, as well as on their families and communities. According to Dean, while we should welcome the efforts of historians to study the common people in the Civil War, it is important that we understand these people on their own terms, and to discover what their trials, disappointments, and triumphs were during their experience of war. Thank you.